Hello and welcome back to the Avoid the Tyrewall podcast. Today we are joined by special guest Harry Hayek. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a McLaren professional driver for McLaren. I'm 23 years of age and I'm from Australia.
What was your path like into GT racing?
It came from a bit of a surprise, to be honest. I used to race go-karts and then progressed into single-seaters. And I actually had a really big accident. I broke my back racing British F3 in 2017. So I had about a year off and I got a bit sick as well. So before I knew it, it'd been 2 years and I was back home in Australia and I was trying to make a comeback, but I was struggling financially and I'd actually hung up the boots just because I couldn't come up with the money to go racing. And I got invited to an evaluation day with McLaren in late 2019. So that there was 18 of us all over the world, and 4 of us got selected for a drive in the 2020 season. And then we were obviously, because of COVID, the racing didn't go ahead, but we were kept on for the next year. So because I won a seat, I made that step into GT racing, and it's kind of kept my whole career alive.
What do you find challenging about driver changes?
I mean, honestly, they're actually okay now that I've done them. Obviously, going from single seaters where you don't share a car with anyone into GT racing where you do, it was quite maybe stressful, or it was very foreign to me. And we spent a day, Katie and I, at the factory running through our procedure on who does what in the driver change, and it took time. It was a bit ugly at first, but once we got our head around things, it's honestly fine. You have a system in place that works, and in the pit stops you have a lot of time as well. So the biggest thing is just not to panic, and as long as you know what you have to do, things should just run smoothly.
I was talking to Gus Burton, and he said that him and his teammate had similar hip widths, but the only difference was their height, because he's like 6'4", and his teammate is like 5'11", which is obviously still tall when you're 5'2" like me. So that's just the biggest issue, he said.
Yeah, I mean, you're in GT racing. Like obviously, Katie and I have quite a different body composite, and also I'm a bit taller than Katie, so you'll never have the perfect seating position, and it's just about trying to find a happy medium. So we're both never 100% comfortable, but you just find something that works for you. And some drivers will get a seat mold, so they got more support. So I just run with the bare seat, but Katie's got a seat mold just to bring herself forward a bit, because obviously she's a bit shorter than me. But you just make it work. And honestly, once you put your helmet on, the adrenaline kicks in and you forget about all those little things if the steering wheel's too close etc. So
Is there a big difference in motorsports going from Australia to the UK?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just a lot bigger over here, and there's a lot more opportunity. Although it's very hard to crack it in this sport compared to Australia. All the manufacturers are based over here, so this side of the world is definitely where you want to be. Australia has the V8 supercars, but being honest with you, it's a difficult championship to crack in, to tap into if you haven't got a name for yourself. So the fact this opportunity with McLaren came about, I grabbed it with 2 hands, and I'm just very thankful to be associated with a manufacturer.
Did you start karting over in Australia?
Yeah, so I started karting when I was 14. So that was considered late, because they start them as little as 6 or 7. And they just look like these little kids with these bubble heads, when they have the helmets on just flopping around. But yeah, I was only in karting for 2 years. I kind of climbed the ranks very quickly to the top. And, along the way, I met some very good people that helped me in the process. But I thoroughly enjoyed my time in karting, and looking back, they are probably the best times, and I wish I did start earlier.
What size engine did the kart use?
So we had, they're similar to the UK and European championships, a little bit different. But what I used to race was 100cc. So that is a Yamaha engine. So it was a Yamaha J or a Yamaha Clubman, which is a KT 100S, which I don't think you guys race this side of the world. You guys normally race 125cc's. So your Rotaxes and your X30s, but we still have them back home. But how I kind of progressed through the ranks, it was all in the 100cc's, the air-cooled engines, not the water-cooled.
What is your workout program like?
Eat McDonald's and no. It basically, I actually love training in the gym. So just because of the endorphins and how it makes me feel. So normally, my weeks are structured a lot towards weight training, but higher reps with less weight, just to keep lean muscle, because you don't want to get too big in the race cars. So normally I have a program for like upper body, lower body. And then I've also got cardio, that I throw in. I've never been a big cardio fan, to be honest. I love walking. And I do prefer running compared to cycling. And during COVID, during the lockdown, I really got into my walking and running. So it's probably the fittest I've ever been. But I also play a lot of six-a-side football, because I've got a lot of passion for football. So it's a good way to keep fit. But yeah, that's kind of my training. I spend most days in the gym, and yeah, it kind of varies, but it's more so weight training, lean muscle weight training with a bit of cardio.
On Rokeek, what is it like? Set up the stuff and going to the track?
Brackets race week. I just thought it'd be funny.
Yeah.
Oh, what's my setup leading into race week? Is that the question?
Yeah.
So part of the obviously leading into a race week, you want to look back at any data or footage just to make sure visually. Or mentally, you're prepared. So for the first session, you're on it, straight away. In regards to training, you normally taper off. And then in regards to nutrition, you don't want to be eating any naughty foods. A little snack or whatever is okay, but you just want to try and eat clean foods just so that your energy levels are stable leading into the weekend. Part of the McLaren driver development program, though, we spend a whole day with the team, with our driver coaches and teammates, looking through all the data and footage from testing or previous rounds, and going over race starts, driver changes, overtakes, etc. Then we also spend a lot of time in the sim. But I mean, throughout round to round, we spend a lot of time in the sim, running drills and just making sure, we're fully prepared leading in. So, from the very first session, you're on it, and you don't need, a couple sessions to warm up.
On the red/white curbs, red/white curbs,
yeah,
what does it feel like when you hit them, or does it unsettle the car? And if you go in at the wrong angle, can it hurt?
Yeah, I mean, I think hitting curbs is fantastic. It's something from go-karts that I've loved, and it definitely it can go both ways. You made a very good point. It's all about the angle you hit the curbs at, because if you hit them at the wrong angle, they'll unsettle the car. And if you hit them at the right angle, they can give you grip and help the car rotate. But depending on the cars you drive, for example, our GT4, you have to be careful just because it's got a lot of driver aids. So it's got stability control and traction control. And when you hit those curbs, it often triggers the stability and traction, and it can slow you down. Whereas if you're in a GT3, you can change it and modify how much intervention you get, so the car can be a bit freer off the corner. But I will say, in the wet, sometimes you have to be careful because they can get really slippery.
As a driver, what changes can you make to the setup from race to race?
It normally varies car to car, and how how much leeway you've got, or how advanced the car is really. But I mean, keeping it quite simple with the roll bars, the anti-roll bars, you can change how soft or stiff the car is. You can change the springs, so the spring rates as well. That depends if you're going to go softer or stiffer. You can change the ride height of the car, so how high or low it is. And sometimes you'll have different ride height, front to rear, to help the balance of the car. You can change the geometry of the wheels, and how they're positioned on the track. So there's quite a lot, but normally once you find a sweet spot, where the car works, you shouldn't really change it too much. As the weekend, goes on, the track develops, there's more grip that goes down, and the car just starts to come alive. So yeah, but there are a few of the things that you can change.
If you could have anyone, dead or alive, and from any racing series as your teammate, who would you pick?
I'd probably have my dad, to be honest with you. Not that he didn't do much racing, but he did a bit, and he won a race over at Donington, came over in Formula Ford. But I mean, it would just be sick to have him as a teammate. It'd be a lot of fun. I don't know how he would go, but we'd have a smile on our faces, and that's what counts at the end of the day.
What makes a track bad?
Oh man, what makes a track bad? I'd probably say a track that's really bumpy can be bad. Can be quite frustrating, just from a braking point of view, and then sometimes the bumps can unsettle the car. So that's never good. But I mean, it's a challenge at the end of the day. If it's a bumpy circuit and it makes it difficult, I kind of enjoy that in a way. But if I had to put a negative, I'd probably say the surface being quite bumpy, and also probably the track facilities as well. I love going to some of the tracks over here where the facilities are, they've been recently done, and it just makes the whole experience better. So plus it needs a good cafe. The cafe is very important. So a track with bad food is never a good experience.
Do you work for McLaren exactly?
Yeah, directly. I'm employed by McLaren, and then they place us with a customer team. So this year was with Rocket RJN. But directly associated with McLaren.
What does working for McLaren entail, like the PR and posts on social media?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously we've been employed as racing drivers that are ambassadors for the brand. So, away from, representing them on track, we often, there's certain open days we have to go to, or certain events where we're there, whether that be, talking about the cars, looking after clients, coaching potential clients of theirs, or clients they already have. So basically just representing the brand on and off the track.
What is your best racing memory?
My best racing memory, I would probably say in go-karting. I've got two, probably. I'll give you one in karts, one in cars. In go-karting, winning the it was the Queensland state title, open state title in Clubman Light. I progressed into seniors, and normally when you win a state title, you get a different plate, like a background on your number. And I just really wanted it, and I rocked up to that weekend. And I remember clean sweeping every single session. I led every lap, and I won the final by about 6 or 7 seconds. And it was an amazing weekend. So I held that in high regard. And in cars, probably my first win at Queensland Raceway in an Australian F4 car. I remember crossing the finish line, and it was just an amazing feeling, because it'd been a while. The previous year, my rookie year, we didn't manage to get any wins, and to cross the line in first was just it's a weird feeling. You can't really explain it. You're just Yeah, I talk a lot, but I was a bit speechless. But probably those two racing events are the most important to me.
What's the best race car you've ever driven?
The best race car I've ever driven, it'd have to be the 570S GT4 or any McLaren.
They pay you to say that.
Maybe. No, but honestly, I mean, I've driven a fair few cars, you know, from the single seaters to V8 supercars to other race cars. And I guess something just about the McLaren, just the way that the chassis, just the way it's engineered is just, it's just a real joy to drive. And I really hope that I can get behind the wheel of a GT3. But I mean, they're so well balanced. And I mean, all the driver aids that come with it it's challenging to get your head around coming from, you know, cars and that don't have ABS or stability control or traction control. So, you know, it's difficult to get your head around it. But once you get your head around those driver aids and how to use them, it's a really cool experience.
Is racing your full-time job?
It is, yeah. So since 2020, it's been my full-time job with McLaren. But I also do a lot of driver coaching as well. So back home in Australia, I've got my own driver coaching business called RCD Motorsport. So if you want to go check that out. But yeah, I mean, when I'm not racing and I'm not training, I'm often doing a lot of coaching work, whether that be for McLaren or subcontracting out to other businesses.
Since you raced in single seaters, did you find the transition to GT difficult or weird?
I mean, it was different, but you know, obviously because you're coming from something that has so much grip through the corners and it only weighs 600-700 kilos, you know, and then you go and jump in a car that weighs anywhere, you know, from 16 to 1800 kilos, and you're having to move around a lot more weight. So, you know, once you got your head around that, you know, it was fine. And I don't think the transition was that hard, to be honest. It's still a car at the end of the day. And, you know, all your technique is still quite similar. But yeah, so plus the GT cars are very easy to adapt to with all the driver aids. So
what is a question that you get tired of being asked?
I don't really have one, I don't think. It's all relative, really, because you meet someone new and then they don't know, and everyone's different. So yeah, I don't really have any annoying questions.
What information do you get from pit boards when you're driving at X miles an hour?
We don't actually use pit boards because we've got the intercom system. So most of the stuff's done just via the communication, the radio. But I mean, normally it will give you a lap count. So how many laps to go. And then it might give you as well your lap time, or it may give you the quickest lap time in the session, depending on what you ask. But they try to keep it quite simple because obviously at speed, it's hard to digest a lot of information. Sometimes when the intercom fails in GT racing, they might put something like, you know, flash lights to show you. So then that means you've seen it. And then let's say when it's the end of your stint, they might tell you when to pit in with the board. So they'll pit in this lap, because if you lose communication during a race and, you know, you can't hear them, they might still be able to hear you. So it just depends. But sometimes they use the board for that as well, as a real life scenario in GT racing.
If you're singing, do you ever sing in the car during a race?
Well, I mean, I love singing. I'm not very good at it. And I mean, sometimes I'll like commentate to myself during a race. And sometimes I might sing to my engineers on the radio. But yeah, no, it just depends. But that would be something I would do.
Can you like listen to music through the things?
The intercom, yeah, you can if the team on the other side would play music through the yeah. So I mean, it's not exactly very professional, but I've had it done before, not this year, but sometimes I've asked for it, but then normally you just use the intercom for information throughout a race and whatnot. But I mean, driving with music's pretty cool if you ask me.
Do you listen to music before a race?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. It just depends how I feel, really. But I don't mind listening to some music just to get me excited and, in the zone and ready to go.
What's the best music to get in the vibe?
Oh, honestly, it really depends. Like I listen to stuff from the 80s compared to modern pop, all the way to Stormzy. It just depends. But for me, I seem to really like the songs that make you want to dance. Those songs that just make you feel good. So I normally just end up listening to them. Oh no.
How many teams competed in the 2005 US Grand Prix?
11.
3. Well done, good start.
Oh God, if I get one, I'll be happy.
When was the Hockenheim ring in Germany first used? What year?
I'm gonna say 1989.
2002. How long is the Nürburgring Nordschleife in miles?
Oh my goodness gracious. I'm gonna say 10.5 miles.
14.2. Which is
Damn, that's long.
stupidly.
I need an easy question to get me on the scoreboard. Come on,
In
Teagan.
which country was the title Grand Prix first used? What country did it sound?
Where was it first used?
Yeah. Where does it sound like it's from? It's above Monaco. Wait, no, to the sides of Monaco as well.
I feel like saying Italy.
France.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought Italy. It's not good.
How many motor racing circuits, current and former, are there in the UK? Approximately.
Approximately. What do you mean approximately? There's only one answer.
We'll let you have a couple each side.
How many circuits in the UK?
Yeah, current and not used anymore.
Oh, and not used. Okay. I'm going to go. So starting down the bottom, we've got Brands Hatch. We've got Thruxton. Are we going to do tracks that they actually race at? Not like Bedford Autodrome and, none of those tracks, are we? We're going to do actual tracks?
I have no clue. I just copy and paste off Google.
Well, if we go actual tracks, I'm going to say, Brands Hatch is down south. We have Thruxton as well. And then we make our way up to Silverstone, to Snetterton, to Donington, Oulton Park. Oh, I don't know about Crofton Knock Hill. I think they're in Scotland. I've never been there ever, but I don't know. I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with
More
6.
than you think.
Is it more than I think? Okay, so Bedford Autodrome is probably going to be, I'm going to say 10.
26, approximately.
Oh my God, that's my lucky number as well.
What's Ferrari's nickname? It's to do with a badge.
What is Ferrari's nickname?
What action is the animal that I'm not going to tell because the animal's in the picture? What action is the animal doing? Wait, no, the answer's...
Oh, I see it. But it's not stallion, and it's not a thoroughbred.
It goes neigh.
Yeah, it's not a horse. It's like a stallion or like a thoroughbred, but that's not the name.
It's the one that you said that wasn't the stallion or the thoroughbred, whatever that means.
So it's not a thoroughbred or stallion. It's something else. It's
It's
not a
the
horse.
one you said before.
Stallion.
No.
Thoroughbred.
No.
Horse.
Yeah. Something horse. The horse is doing something.
The horse is doing something. It's
like,
neighing. It's fucking rah.
It's like jumping and skipping combined.
Jesus. It's the it's not cantering.
P. I'm so helpful.
Something P. It's like half an answer. P horse.
Yeah, like half a point maybe.
Do you want me to tell you? Have you given up?
I'm struggling here. Can I get one more hint?
Rhymes with dancing.
Yeah, it rhymes with dancing. It's got very similar letters.
Pantsing.
No, you missed one letter. After the P, it's an R.
Prancing.
Yeah.
Prancing horse.
Yeah. Let me just count.
I would have never have got that, but I'm going to take the point.
Yeah, okay, I'll give it to you.
Wow, you learn something every day.
Which is the longest British circuit?
The longest British circuit. I think it has to be Silverstone.
Yeah.
Boom! Get in.
Did you watch F1 in 2009? Because this question depends on it. Damn
No.
it.
But 2000. What is the question? I'll give it a go, maybe.
What team was Jensen Button driving for when he won his title in 2009?
McLaren.
No. That was so confident. It's Brawn GP.
Ah, bloody hell. That one doesn't count. Just take that one out because I didn't know 2009.
Which 3 races make up the Triple Crown of motorsport?
Pass.
Okay,
I know 2 of them.
who's the true GOAT? I mean, it does say in the names.
Teagan.
Yeah!
Teagan, not Keegan. Teagan.
I'm giving you a point for that.
That's mean.
Which team won both the F2 and F3 championships in 2020?
Me.
Oh, in both in 2020. Oh, it has to be Prema.
Yeah!
Yeah.
They are something else.
Prima are well cool. Honestly, I would love to work for them. Should we do a really difficult question just to finish? And then you got to name a track.
Okay.
Who is the oldest driver to finish a Formula race and how old was he?
Can I ask you what year this dates back to?
I don't know. Let me Google it.
Well done.
Ooh, I nearly gave the answer then. Ooh, he was very dead by the looks of it. Right. He was born in 1899.
I don't know. I got no idea.
He's called Louis Chiron. And he was Monegasque. What a cool dude. He was 55 years old.
Wow.
Fair play to him.
Verify.
Can you name, watch this not focus out, this track?
Oh, that looks like Alton. It's a bit hard
Yeah.
to see, but I think it's Alton.
So you got 5.
I will take
bad.
that.
Put you in P5. Thank you for watching this week's episode of the Avoid the Tyrewall podcast. Thank you to Harry for agreeing to be a guest, and we will see you next week. Bye. And then
See ya.